Hi, this is Beth, and I am thrilled to host my first What Matters Warren via Zoom. And I'm with some wonderful people here from an organization called Coming to the Table. And I'm so thrilled to be able to bring them to the community, to be able to share what the organization is about, invite you to get involved, and encourage younger generations like Sarah we have here to get involved as well. I don't know about anyone else out there watching, but I have been completely paralyzed and unsure what to do as our country and our world faces the crisis from COVID to the racial injustice, the highlight that's been shed on that, and just really worried about what sort of role I can play to get involved and being totally paralyzed. So I'm so thrilled to have the opportunity to talk with this group. It's so funny. A couple months ago, I was looking for something, and I happened upon a book that Ira and Judith gave me years ago that I had neglected to read. It's called A Little Book of Racial Healing, which I strongly encourage everyone to read. And it's about Coming to the Table, this organization that we're going to hear about. And I'd just like to open by just quoting a little bit from this book, just a very short quote that I think really showcases what this organization is about. And then I'm going to turn it over to let them share about it and invite you to the next Zoom meeting that they're having. But it says that Coming to the Table helps to give people a toolkit. And it's a toolkit and program that focuses on active listening, empathy, and storytelling to promote racial equity. The approach is based on dialogic learning, which is essentially about the process of people learning about a social reality by 1, starting with their own experiences, 2, moving to other people's experiences, and 3, raising questions about people's experiences and how they're similar and different. So it's a really, really neat organization that they have. And I'd like to share this. It says the importance of white people working with and talking to other white people about whiteness, privilege, power, othering, and racism cannot be overstated. So I personally have pledged to start educating myself and to start having a voice and realizing that if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. So I'm here to introduce these wonderful people. Let's go around and we'll start with you, Ira, below me. If you could introduce yourself, and then we'll go around and share a little bit about what we hope people will learn from us today.
Thank you, Beth, for choosing those selections from the book. They really encapsulate what this is about. My name is Ira Chaleff, and about 3 years ago, like you, Beth, I was looking for a way to become part of a solution. And I discovered the work that Judith James was doing. And I told her that I was very interested in supporting that work. And at the time, Coming to the Table had a large footprint in the Shenandoah Valley, and it was too large. And Judith recognized that we needed to divide the northern part of the county so people could actually come to meetings. And I became her co-facilitator and got some training through the national organization, and am just thrilled at what I have learned from Judith, from Coming to the Table, and hopefully what I've been able to give back to the group.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much. Judith, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Judith James, and in 2014, I had the wonderful opportunity to participate in the first meeting of individuals who were previously already connected actually with Coming to the Table nationally, and they wanted to establish a Coming to the Table chapter in the northern Shenandoah Valley area. And so I was invited to be part of the planning committee in 2014, and have over the last 6 years been so excited to be part of what I really do consider the problem-solving process.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Downs. I am a student, community volunteer, aspiring politician extraordinaire, as my mom says about me. But I am a student. I live in Front Royal, Virginia. I'm a student at Shenandoah University. I'm studying political science and public health. Upon the beginning of June and everything going on, I was looking for ways to be active in my community, and I was looking for a way to make sure that I was practicing activism. And a lot of people associate activism with protesting, but I feel like activism can come in many forms. And so I was looking for a way to facilitate safe spaces, to have conversations and bring about healing. And that's how I found Coming to the Table. One of my friends texted me and they were like, hey, I'm going to come to this Coming to the Table meeting, but they need help with Zoom. And so they reached out to me and I went ahead and helped them with Zoom. And in doing that, I fell in love with Coming to the Table, and I fell in love with this form of activism, of facilitating safe spaces to have difficult conversations and to share difficult, painful things about racial injustice and inequity, and being able to help facilitate those conversations to, heal our communities. So I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. Well, Judith, as we were chatting before we got started, you said a couple really powerful quotes, and I'd love you to share those if you would, about how hurt people, and how this group and the conversation needs to not be necessarily about finger pointing and that sort, and violence, but about forgiveness and about healing the wounds that are so deep. Could you explain a little bit about the origins of the organization and where it kind of starts from? The generational.
I'd be glad to, Beth. Coming to the Table actually was established in 2006, and it came about as a result of considering the dream that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had. And he said that he believed and dreamed that one day the descendants of enslavers and the descendants of the enslaved could come to the table of brotherhood. And I think in the 21st century, we'd also say sisterhood. In addition to this organization being born out of Dr. Martin Luther King's dream, a number of values have been identified that undergird the work that we do. We come to the table of brotherhood and sisterhood, but we come in the spirit of embracing the values that are particular to coming to the table. And those values include inclusion, the number one value, respect, honesty, truthfulness, transparency, compassion, mercy. And I always like to say forgiveness at least 5 times, because unless we're prepared to forgive, we can't bridge the divide. So forgiveness is a primary value. Love is a value. Peace is a value. Non-violence is a value. Transformation is key. Because unless we are transformed, we transfer our pain. And reconciliation. An adage that we speak about in Coming to the Table and nationally is the following, and you referenced it, Beth: hurt people hurt other people. And pain that is not transformed gets transferred.
That is so powerful, so powerful.
And I was, I think about that because that's helped me as an African-American woman who is a descendant of the enslaved. It helps me to have compassion for the perpetrator of racism. I see the perpetrator as wounded, as well as their victims. Unless the victim, unless their pain is transformed, it too gets transferred. And we see some of that played out as well. So The perpetrator of racism I see is wounded, and I see it as an intergenerational wound that stems from slavery, as well as their victim. And so coming to the table is about the process of healing, transforming those wounds based on the values that I shared.
Wonderful. Well, can you share what, if someone wants to be involved and come to the table with you virtually on Zoom, how is the meeting going to be set up, and how does it look now that you're meeting virtually? I know you used to meet at Open House, which was wonderful to have you at that space, but how does it look? And just, I want people to feel comfortable to join if they haven't ever participated before. I know I plan to be a part of it. What can we expect during the meetings?
Well, coming to the table, our Northern Shenandoah Valley organization has established 4 subcommittees, and we call it our approaches. One is uncovering history. The other is making connections. Last month, we had an opportunity to make connections with the law enforcement community in Front Royal. The third approach is working toward healing. And the final approach is taking action. On July the 30th at 6:30, Coming to the Table will feature our Uncovering History committee, and they will unfold information that will be brought forth using a video by Dr. Joy DeGrue, who talks about post-slavery harm syndrome that manifests itself in how many Blacks respond to ongoing racism in this society, and how many whites also do. And so we will have that as a focus under the auspices of our Uncovering History committee. That particular, for those who would like to participate, we will ask them, and I think Sarah will share our email address. All they need to do is send a request to the email address, and we will send them a link to the meeting. Our meetings are the last Thursday of the month. And again, the meeting upcoming is the 30th of July at 6:30 p.m.
Very good. Very good. So I know you guys have been meeting before everyone in the world was having this conversation, or thinking they should have a conversation like me. You know, I am just one of those white people that thought, oh, I'm colorblind, I'm nice to everyone, I'm not racist, no worries. Then I read this book called White Fragility, and my mind explodes. And I think, oh my gosh, I have been just sitting on the sidelines thinking, I'm good, it's fine.
Well, you found the right book for you.
Yeah, it's not fine. Yeah, it was absolutely mind-blowing. I have bribed my 14-year-old daughter to read it by forgiving her debt from redoing her room. And so she's reading it on a road trip right now currently. So not the best reader in the world, but this was worth the bribe for sure. You know, bribery, whatever. But it's just amazing. Do you guys have, as being a part of this organization, Sarah, though you're relatively new, do you have any suggestions for people who maybe they can't come to the meeting, maybe they aren't willing or quite ready to have these tough conversations with strangers at a meeting like this? What can we do in our lives that we can make a commitment to try to educate ourselves? I've been reading books and having conversations with friends and family members about these hard subjects that, again, I thought, I don't need to talk about that. But it's been just become so apparent to me that, you know, again, it's so cliche, if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem, but I am just the epitome of the problem. And there's so many of me's out there that think they're good. They don't need to be a part of of making it a change, and that we close our eyes and have these blinders on to the reality that people face still every day, and the repercussions that do date back from slavery. So any suggestions for people like me who want to know what they can do to try to start, and I love what Sarah said about activism, being a part.
Yeah. So these conversations that we have and the things that people share, the reflections we have at coming to the table are, like Judith said, rooted in a basis of honesty. And sometimes it's really hard to process and hear the reality of what people are dealing with across this country and the hurt that they're living with. So I think as a personally, I'm looking for ways to be a good example of activism. And activism you can do in several different ways: voting, protesting. But another way of doing activism is educating yourself. And so I feel like the first thing that people can do to start this conversation and to educate themselves is being willing to be uncomfortable and being willing to learn. Because you're gonna, if you want to be a part of the solution, especially as a white person in America, a good portion of being a part of the solution is just being willing to step outside of your comfort zone and read that difficult book. Read White Fragility. Read Where Do We Go From Here by Martin Luther King Jr. Reading about why do all the colored kids sit at a different table in the lunchroom. Like, there's so many books out there. There's so many resources. And so just being willing to be uncomfortable and being willing to learn is like step number one. So if you're not ready to come to a coming to the table meeting, it's okay, because sometimes when you're sitting in the meeting, it's such a warm and loving space, but sometimes you do feel a little overwhelmed. Sometimes it is hard to hear. So just be willing to be uncomfortable and really like step out your box and learn. Do what Beth has done. Go buy you a book, read the book, have some reflections on the book, and then see how you can take what you just learned and apply it to your daily life. May it be having a conversation with somebody, may it be writing your legislator, or just being more involved in politics and like realizing more about what's going on in your local politics. Or may it be just sitting down with your child, if you have children at home, and saying, hey, like, you have to understand that there are others in this country that aren't given the privileges that you are. And just having those uncomfortable conversations and learning that uncomfortable information.
Let me build on some of the things that have been beautifully expressed. I would like to emphasize that I think one of the gifts of coming to the table is that we do two things at the same time that are somewhat contradictory. One is we create a very, very safe space. No one will be shamed for anything that they are trying to express as honestly as they can. And they will sometimes do it imperfectly. And sometimes will say things that can hurt each other without intending to. And we have what we call touchstones, which are kind of guiding principles on how to speak and listen very, very deeply and respectfully. So if I inadvertently say something that offended Sarah, she could say to me, ouch, Ira, you probably didn't realize it, but when you said that, it had this effect on me, given my experience, and I learned from that. And when we sit in the circle, and each person has a couple of minutes to reflect on and express whatever it is they choose to, and they can pass if they don't yet feel ready to vocalize what they're feeling. We all hello. We all listen as deeply as we can, as compassionately as we can. The difference is that hard truths can be expressed, and safety still can be maintained. We, in fact, don't have discussions as much as we have reflection, deep listening, and learning. So even if you feel a little bit intimidated at the thought of going out of your comfort zone and joining us at this table, I encourage you to do so. We will do our very best to both make you feel welcome, make you feel safe, and make you feel challenged all at once, which is a pretty neat trick.
Right.
Yeah, and like Ira said, and to play off of what Judith said earlier, one of the biggest components of healing is just feeling heard. And so even if you come to our meetings and you decide not to speak at all, and you just sit there and want to listen, that's healing in and of itself, because so many times in our society, we have seen stuff that has hurt people and they've not been healed. And part of the reason they've not been healed and transformed is because they just haven't been heard. And so coming to our meetings and just sitting and listening is incredibly helpful and incredibly healing and incredibly just helpful to the conversation and to transforming our society and practicing anti-racism.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, do you have any closing statements, Judith, that you'd like to leave our viewers with? Thank you all so much for sharing. I'm just so thrilled to have come to the Zoom with you today.
Well, Beth, I have to say that I've always seen you, and I have to say this, I've seen you as someone who has lived the solution. You travel across the world, and while you may not have been exclusively focused on this particular issue, you have been living the solution in all that you do in Africa and abroad. And it is you and it's many people like you who do come to the table. So I salute you for what you have done, and I salute you for your commitment to what we're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I don't believe I deserve those kind words, but I appreciate them and I take them to heart, and thank you for them. And I just make a commitment to you all here to try to support more and to have these tough conversations. And, you know, I was just talking with a friend, you know, I do easy real well. It's easy to go to Uganda and see the beautiful children and raise money for a school. And it's just easy and wonderful. But, you know, I don't like to talk about these hard subjects that are real. And so I've made a commitment to myself, like Sarah said, like to start educating myself, and it feels good. I've been off social media for like 4 or 6 weeks now, just paralyzed and feeling like I need to make some sort of statement, but I know it's not about me, but yet I want to be a part of it. It's just been so frustrating. So
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, Beth, because what a lot of people don't realize is, like, you know, it's amazing that you've gone abroad and that you've done stuff. Like, you know, Rotary provides amazing opportunities for people to go abroad and help children in Africa. But what's difficult is actually the work that needs to be done here, right here at home. And so I really appreciate all your efforts.
Well, thank you all so much. I will see you on the Zoom call. Looking forward to seeing a lot of other viewers that are going to join us. And just really encourage everyone, no matter what they do. And I mean, I can get overwhelmed. So when I get into something, I'm like, no, I want to like do it big. But even just taking small steps and being kind to yourself and just making an effort every day to do something to make a difference and try to be a part of the solution in this area and in other areas of need in this world. So everyone stay safe and happy and healthy. Thank you all so much. And we will see you on July 30th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.